Here's a thought that might change everything. Your life isn't reacting to what's happening around you. It's reacting to what you've quietly decided is true. The instant you start believing deep down that things always work out in your favor, reality begins rearranging itself to match that belief, whether or not you ever understand how it happens. Keep listening, because what's coming next has the power to release you from years of worry, self-doubt, and unnecessary struggle. It will show you why the world always ends up agreeing with the story you keep telling. So here's the question. What if, starting right now, you made a firm decision that regardless of what shows up in front of you, regardless of the news you receive, the setbacks that appear, or the disappointments that try to shake you, you held on to one single belief without wavering? That belief is simple. Things always work out for you. Most people can't even picture living that way because they've spent their whole lives letting appearances control how they feel. They wait to see proof before they'll trust something. They wait for outcomes before they'll feel safe. They wait for their situation to improve before they'll allow themselves to feel calm, thankful, or sure of themselves. But pause and consider. Maybe that entire way of thinking is upside down. What if your circumstances aren't creating your inner state, but your inner state is creating your circumstances? What if the reality you keep experiencing is simply mirroring back the beliefs you keep feeding day after day? It's an uncomfortable thought at first, because it means you can no longer point at the world and call it random. It means the story you've been living isn't happening to you. It's being written, moment by moment, by the assumptions you've quietly agreed to accept as fact. Seen this way, believing things always work out isn't just cheerful thinking. It's not naive optimism, and it's not pretending problems don't exist. It's a conscious decision to live from a mindset that naturally attracts good outcomes. Take a close look at your own life, and you'll notice that every repeating pattern has one thing behind it: a belief that's been kept alive. Someone who assumes people will let them down keeps running into situations that seem to prove it. Someone who assumes success is a struggle keeps hitting roadblocks that confirm that idea. Someone who assumes chances are rare keeps noticing closed doors and missed opportunities. Yet somebody else, living in that exact same world, believes life is on their side, that answers always show up, that opportunities are everywhere, and somehow their experience looks completely different. That difference isn't chance. It isn't destiny. It has nothing to do with outside circumstances. It comes down to the state of mind each person is viewing life through. Whatever you assume becomes the filter, and that filter shapes what you notice, what you accept, and ultimately what you end up living out. Change the filter, and the picture you're handed changes right along with it. Not because the world suddenly became kinder, but because you finally started looking at it through different eyes. This is the part most people skip past too quickly. The idea that the shift has to happen on the inside before it ever shows up on the outside. Most people spend their whole lives fighting things that aren't even real problems. They're just reflections. They try endlessly to change what's happening outside them, without realizing the outside world is only echoing something they've already accepted on the inside. That's why they stay stuck and frustrated. They're trying to fix a reflection while ignoring the source that's producing it. Picture standing in front of a mirror, unhappy with what looks back at you. You could argue with that reflection all day. It won't change a thing. The only way the image shifts is if you change what's standing in front of the mirror. Life works almost exactly the same way. When you choose to believe that everything always works out for you, you're changing the source itself. You're shifting the inner standpoint from which you read situations, react to what happens, and decide what it all means. In the beginning, nothing on the outside may look any different. Familiar struggles might still show up. Surprises, good and bad, will still happen. But your relationship with those moments starts to change. Where you once saw roadblocks, you start noticing doorways. Where you once saw endings, you start noticing turning points. Where you once expected trouble, you start expecting a way through. And that shift, quiet as it seems, is the beginning of everything changing. Not because the world rearranged itself first, but because you did. The outside always catches up eventually. It has no choice. since it was only ever reflecting you in the first place. This small internal shift matters more than people realize. Most pain doesn't come from what actually happens. It comes from the meaning we attach to it. Two people can go through the identical situation and end up living in two completely different realities, simply because of the meaning each one assigns. One calls it a disaster, the other calls it a redirection. One calls it rejection, the other calls it preparation. One calls it failure, the other calls it a step forward. The event itself never changes, but the experience of it changes entirely, because your state of consciousness decides how you interpret it. That interpretation shapes how you feel, and how you feel strengthens whatever you already believe, until that belief eventually becomes your reality. This is exactly why deciding that everything always works out for you is so powerful. It breaks the pattern of living in fear. It stops the habit of assuming the worst. It puts an end to constantly bracing for bad news. So many people unknowingly rehearse failure in their minds, imagining what could go wrong, expecting letdowns, preparing themselves for disappointment, and then wonder why anxiety never seems to leave them. But your inner awareness doesn't separate what you keep dreading from what you keep hoping for. It simply responds to whatever you dwell on the most, which means the moment you stop rehearsing disaster and start rehearsing the assumption that everything always works out for you, you're not fooling yourself. You're finally telling the truth about how life actually operates and giving it something worth reflecting back. Every day, people spend hours living inside worry, frustration, resentment, and doubt. And without realizing it, they're practicing those feelings. They're becoming skilled at expecting things to go wrong, then act surprised when life hands them exactly that. Now picture something different, waking up each morning and making one clear decision. You decide that no matter how things look, everything is working in your favor. Every delay is hiding a purpose you can't see yet. Every challenge is carrying an opportunity inside it. Every setback is moving you towards something bigger. Watch what happens. Your mind settles, your reactions soften, your confidence builds. You stop burning energy fighting circumstances and start moving through your day with quiet trust. Trust isn't passive, it's creative. Fear shrinks your awareness. Trust opens it wide. Fear hides possibilities. Trust brings them into focus. Fear rushes you into reactive decisions. Trust gives you room for wisdom. Fear makes you quit too soon. Trust keeps you moving until the vision becomes real. This is why deciding everything works out for you does more than change how you feel. It changes how you act. And once your actions shift, your results shift right along with them. So many people believe they need to control every detail of life just to feel safe. But real power was never about managing details. It's about mastering the state you bring to them. Someone who genuinely believes everything works out for them carries a quiet edge most people never develop. Difficulty shows up, and they stay grounded. Everyone around them scrambles, and they stay still. And because they stay still, they see solutions that panic makes invisible to everyone else. A relaxed mind spots doors, a fearful mind walks past. A peaceful mind picks up on ideas a troubled mind never receives. That's why the state you're living in matters so much. You're not just reacting to life, you're shaping it through the assumptions you carry. Every belief you hold has creative weight. Every state you settle into leaves fingerprints on your experience. Tell yourself a goal is impossible and believe it, and watch your drive weaken, your imagination shrink, your actions turn hesitant. That's the assumption doing exactly what assumptions do. Stay loyal instead to the belief that everything works out for you, and other people's opinions lose their grip. You keep going, you stay open, and because you stay open, new doors appear. The assumption keeps you moving. Movement builds momentum, and momentum turns into results. Most people have no idea how much of their life was shaped by beliefs they never actually chose, inherited from family, absorbed from culture, accepted from past disappointments, then mistaken for unchangeable fact. But an assumption was never meant to be permanent. It's a state, and states can be swapped. The instant you notice a belief you're carrying, you gain the power to replace it. Spent years assuming life is hard, or that nothing works out, or that disappointment is coming. You can choose again, not by rewriting the past, but by changing the state you view the present through. Every real transformation starts with a shift in identity. Someone who commits to assuming everything works out eventually just becomes that kind of person, expecting good outcomes without even trying. It stops being effort and becomes their natural way of moving through the world, and reality keeps mirroring it back. That's part of why some people seem to catch every break. They've trained themselves to expect cooperation instead of resistance, and because they expect it, they notice the paths leading toward it. So tonight, before you close your eyes, ask what belief you've been carrying that no longer serves you. Then swap it for one truth. Everything always works out for me. Not sometimes, not only when conditions cooperate, but always, even when the reason isn't clear yet. Hold that assumption long enough, and you stop treating good outcomes as rare exceptions and start accepting them as simply how your life works. The mind drifts toward whatever it's repeatedly told is normal. Wait for every external condition to change before feeling secure, and you'll stay dependent on circumstances forever. Assume the outcome is already yours, and you become independent of them. One person is constantly reacting, the other is quietly creating. This is exactly why the belief has to be held most tightly when appearances say otherwise. Believing after proof arrives takes no faith at all. The real test is staying anchored to your inner conviction while your senses report something completely different. That's the moment you choose. Bow to what appears true, or stay loyal to what you've consciously decided. Most people give up right there, hit the first obstacle and slide back into old worry, then wonder why nothing changes. A seed doesn't become a tree the moment it's planted. There's a quiet stretch where nothing visible happens, while everything underground is already in motion. Assumptions work the same way. The mistake most people make is digging the seed back up daily to check if it's growing. Confident today, fearful tomorrow, and that back and forth is exactly what weakens the belief they're trying to build. Your only job is to stay loyal to the state, delay after delay, no after no, foggy patch after foggy patch, until the new belief becomes so natural that doubt stops sounding convincing. That's when you start noticing shifts in places you never expected. Conversations take unexpected turns. The right connections appear at the right time. Solutions arrive from directions you never considered. Coincidences pile up, doors open, and what once seemed impossible starts inching closer. At first, your analytical mind tries to write it off as luck, but as the pattern repeats, you start sensing something deeper. Reality isn't nearly as fixed as you once thought. It's responsive, it bends, it reflects consciousness in ways far more profound than most people consider. The outer world is always echoing what's happening inside. Feel abandoned, and life tends to mirror it back. Feel unsupported, and circumstances tend to confirm it. Not because life is punishing you, but because consciousness expresses itself through experience. And once the inner state changes, the reflection eventually has no choice but to change too. Understanding this removes the need to fight reality head-on. Instead of wrestling with appearances, you transform the source they're coming from. You stop asking, "How do I force this to happen?" and start asking, "Who do I need to become for this to happen naturally?" That single shift changes everything, because every outcome you want already has a matching state of consciousness attached to it. Someone living in abundance occupies a different state than someone bracing for lack. Someone who succeeds again and again operates from a different state than someone who assumes failure. The results differ because the states differ. And choosing to assume everything always works out for you means stepping into one of the most powerful states available to a human mind: trust, quiet expectancy, and an inner security that refuses to hand final authority to whatever's happening on the surface right now. Stop rehearsing problems and start rehearsing resolution, and the obstacle stops feeling final, the delay stops feeling pointless, and you remember the creative force that was always living inside you. Most people treat imagination like it's just fantasy, something separate from real life, instead of recognizing it for what it actually is: the workshop where reality gets built before it ever shows up in physical form. Every achievement you can name existed in someone's imagination long before it existed anywhere else. Every invention was imagined first. Every building was imagined first. Every personal transformation was imagined first. The world keeps revealing over and over what was already accepted on the inside. So if you want a life where everything works out for you, that life has to start in your imagination. Imagine receiving good news. Imagine opportunities showing up out of nowhere. Imagine outcomes going your way. Imagine relief replacing the worry you've been carrying. Imagine confidence replacing the fear that's been running the show. And here's the key. Don't imagine these things as distant maybes, far off in some future you might reach someday. Imagine them as present realities, happening now, in this moment. Feel what it actually feels like to be someone whose life consistently unfolds in their favor. How would that person walk into a room? How would they talk? How would they respond when something temporarily goes sideways? How would they think about the future waiting for them? They wouldn't live in constant anxiety. They wouldn't assume disaster was lurking around every corner. They wouldn't spend their days bracing for disappointment before it even arrives. They'd carry a quiet certainty instead, a calm, steady confidence, a deep inner knowing that no matter what's showing up right now, life is moving toward something resolved and good. That attitude, more than anything else, is what actually transforms experience. Not force, not struggle, not endless white-knuckled effort. Just sustained identification with a new way of being. Once you understand this, everything shifts. You stop chasing outcomes and start embodying them instead. You stop begging reality for permission to succeed. You stop waiting around for outside validation before you'll allow yourself to believe in the future you actually want. Instead, you accept it inwardly first. And once something has been accepted on the inside, it's already begun its journey toward becoming visible on the outside. The assumption turns into a conviction. The conviction turns into a lived state. The state turns into an experience. And that experience loops back around and strengthens the original conviction even further. This is exactly why the most important moment is always right now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not once things get better. Now. Because every single moment hands you the chance to choose a new assumption. Every moment lets you step into a different state. Every moment gives you the power to decide what story you're going to keep telling yourself about your own life. Are you going to keep repeating the story where you struggle? Keep identifying with limitation? Keep bracing for disappointment before it even shows up? Or are you finally going to pick up a new story? One where life is actually on your side, where solutions keep arriving, where opportunities keep multiplying, where things genuinely tend to work out for you. It might seem like a small decision in the moment, but the ripple effects are massive, because every assumption you accept is quietly seeking a way to express itself. Every state you occupy is looking for a way to become real. Every inner conviction is working its way toward outer confirmation. And because reality keeps mirroring back whatever consciousness consistently treats as true, the assumption you settle on today has the power to shape experiences far beyond anything you can currently see from where you're standing. So as you move on from this moment, stop asking whether reality is going to cooperate with what you want. Stop waiting for your circumstances to give you permission before you'll allow yourself to believe. Stop letting whatever's happening right now decide what's actually possible for your life. The outer world was never the one writing your story. It's only ever been the messenger, delivering back whatever assumptions you've already accepted inside yourself. Starting right now, let it become your deepest, most settled conviction that everything always works out for you. When the road ahead looks uncertain, assume it's leading somewhere good. When one door shuts, assume a bigger one is already swinging open somewhere you haven't seen yet. When challenges show up, assume they're quietly rearranging themselves in your favor. Refuse to hand your inner certainty over to whatever's temporarily happening around you. This isn't about ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about refusing to let temporary conditions cast the deciding vote on what your future is allowed to look like. Remember this: reality can't keep contradicting a state you're faithfully holding on to. Stay in fear, and fear is what gets reflected back. Stay in doubt, and doubt is what gets confirmed. But hold steady, without wavering, in the assumption that life is working in your favor, that everything happening is somehow serving your higher highest good, that every outcome is ultimately steering you towards something fulfilling, and reality genuinely has no choice but to echo that belief right back to you. Carry this with you. You were never here just to react to whatever life throws at you. You're here to decide the state you experience life from in the first place. Choose certainty, choose trust, choose the quiet, settled expectation that things are going to work out, and then hold on to it with a faith that doesn't waver just because something looks difficult in the moment. That faith isn't naive, it's disciplined. It's a decision you renew every single day, especially on the days when it would be easier to give in to doubt. It's a muscle, not a mood, something you build through repetition, not something you either have or don't. Some days it will feel effortless. Other days you'll have to choose it on purpose over and over until it feels natural again. That's not failure. That's simply what building a new state looks like from the inside. Because the day you truly, fully assume that everything always works out for you is the exact day reality starts rearranging itself around that belief. Quietly, steadily, piece by piece, proving that you were right all along.